Yeah, we can do it over.
Mike Dawson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald,
Nay.
Jennifer Finley, Jim Molitaire, Carol Langford, Danielle Matt,
Here.
Bing Matt, James Steele Jr.,
Here.
Martin Charlo,
Present.
Len Tooteeth,
I'm here.
Lenise Trahan.
Thank you, Jen. Bing, will you give us a prayer this morning? Will you? Yeah, please.
I'm school student. We thank you, Creator, for your blessings for today. We thank you, Father, for watching over our children, our grandchildren, and mainly our elders, Father. We just thank you for all that you do for us. We thank you for the pleasant weather that we're having now. And we thank you for all this, everything that's else going on here and with the students graduating and whatever else that they're doing. We just thank you, Father, for watching over them. Father, we just ask that you watch over there, give us a ruling here today, Father, on what we're going to do here at the council today. Help us get through today. We're here, Lord. We just thank you for all you do, Father, Lord. We just thank you for your blessing. We just thank you in Creator's name. Amen.
We have minutes from May 20th. We can take a look at those, please.
Motion to approve the May 20th minutes with corrections.
Motion by Martin to approve the May 20th minutes with corrections.
Six.
Second by Tom. All in favor? That. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, and
Abstained.
Len abstains. Jimmy abstains. We have an agenda. Any additions, Martin? And we have one walk-in. Motion by Martin to approve the agenda with additions. Second by Tom. All in favor? We're unanimous. We'll go to our first walk-in here.
Can we go into executive?
Come on up, Mark. We'll go out of regular into executive. Mark, you have something for regular?
Yeah, just wanted to thank everybody for coming to the skate park opening. It was a really good turnout. I want to thank Cheers for catering and Mike Claremont. Did a good job under some kind of extreme conditions where, yeah, the grill didn't work. He pivoted real quick and got a little small grill, a regular size grill, and started making dogs and burgers. And he got at the end, I think he got the big one lit and going, but yeah, it wouldn't stay lit for him. So yeah, we fed 200 and well, 249 plates went out. So, he went above and beyond. And yeah, just everything else. Mike and Danielle, Carol showing up. Yeah, good day.
Thank you, Martin. Danielle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just our skate park and the agency is done. Had a great time at the opening here in Pablo this last weekend. I wasn't sure. I need a broom and a trash bin and stuff. I guess I'll get with Greg to see what account I can order that stuff out of, but I will be purchasing those items for the skate park down in the agency. Of course, graduation, Women for Wellness. It was just a busy weekend, but it was fun. It was nice to see everybody out and about. I had a scheduling question for, well, it's almost June, but it's for the first part of July. One of the calendars shows quarterlies not until 11th because the 4th of July is actually on that Friday. So I just kind of making family plans and wanted to see if we're actually doing quarterly on the 4th or if it's actually going to be on the 11th. So it will be on the 4th. Okay, perfect. I will plan to be here
In the
then.
Constitution.
That's what I thought, but all of our tribal calendars that went out this year show it, I think on the 11th on those full ones. So we'll just want to make sure we get that out early, I guess. I will be gone probably afternoon of the 5th, and then I'll be gone again 9th, 10th, and 11th. The 9th, 10th, and the 11th is an MMIP, the state MMIP advisory council meeting in Billings. June, yep, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And I sent an email down to Lands and hoping to get a response this week just about some of our home site compliance issues that we're having. I've received several complaints, lots of visits on the porch there and trying to figure out how we can work through it. So I've requested Land's assistance on it. Had a new camp that popped up down there this weekend, and I'm just not sure why it's a squatting ground, but it's really bad for the neighborhood. We don't know what's going on and safety becomes an issue and we don't know who's squatting along the fence line down there and the little kids are running through there. I just would hate to see anything happen to our little ones or our elders. So guess that's all I got this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.
Mr. Chair, I just want to report, well, first of all, I want to apologize. I didn't make the skate prize in Coeur d'Alene and softball. It's been a sponsor and a tour guide for,
Still want to see you on a skateboard,
yeah,
maybe in the agency.
getting closer. Yeah. That'll be a flashback right there.
One is accessibility enhanced or something. I don't know what you would call it.
Okay, I'll break out my wheelchair, do some flips. I wanted to report on our interagency bison hunt managers meeting last Thursday. Bing and I made it down to it. I think all the tribes were there except for the Shoshone Arapaho. Is that right, Bing? I think they're the only ones that were missing. It's a pretty good meeting. Of course, the park took a lot of hits for the massive capture that they did for quarantine and for the ship to slaughter program, but it was unavoidable on their part. And then I wanted to report on the Upper Clark Fork Water Rights meeting I attended in Drummond. It was the largest meeting of this series. The three meetings, the one in Ovando and the other one in Deer Lodge and this one at Drummond. There's about 75 participants and a lot of good questions. Meeting went on for just a little bit over an hour before the Fishwife and Parks Director cut the meeting short because they got off topic. We wanted to talk about the treaty and treaty rights and it was inappropriate for that meeting. This was just a meeting about how we're going to call water for fisheries sustaining flows and how that works. So Seth Makepeace did a great job. I asked Casey Ryan to do a TV interview and he did. Otherwise it was a good meeting. I was impressed by Director Clark. I think at that meeting and then also at the earlier meeting, she was at our bison, well, she zoomed into our bison agency coordination meeting. So yeah. I did invite her to come and look at our fish processing plant. That's part of her expertise. in the industry she represents, ag industry, she's developed meat cutting processing plants. She got really excited about our fish plant on Flathead Lake, and also she seemed pretty supportive of what Fisheries brought in the other day. So we'll be doing a special presentation to her about Flathead Lake Fisheries Management, and then the next time she comes to town, we're going to give her a tour of the Blue Bay. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Danielle?
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our volunteer fire department there in town is looking at some fundraising opportunities, and they're looking at doing an ATV kind of fun run, staying on an established roadway and up and over and back across to charging a fee. They're working with Dan McClure, and they may be in Thursday to make a request for that access to raise some money for the local department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I just want to do a brief update. Last week, Jimmy and I attended the Elder Abuse Prevention Conference in Fort Hall. A lot of good topics, as always, when they're having these types of conferences. One of the things that I came back with was what, and I think this is something we need to look at doing. Fort Hall has created what they call a multi-interdisciplinary team with their Adult Protective Services Department. And what they do is they get together every once or twice a month and discuss adult protection services people that are involved in there, and how they're able to provide resources to them, and making sure that every case that they deal with gets addressed. And I've been looking back on it, you know, we do not adequately fund our APS department like we should. I think we have just a one staff person that's working, and I could be wrong, but I just know the one. And I think that's something that we need to really take another look at in regards to the budget, and trying to help that department get more resources. But I just wanted to mention that I thought that was a really good idea, that what they got going on over there. But it was a good turnout. Unfortunately, we did not have any staff from our elders department there, but it was still a good turnout. So
Thank you, Lynn. Ruth, you want to respond?
The department requested an additional position be filled this year, and they were granted the funding to do that. I don't know if they have actually hired the additional person. And it was their request made a year ago because they felt there was an increased need for that.
With that, you're up, Ruth.
All right.
Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, council. So for this request to tribal lands to purchase capital equipment, they need to acquire additional trailers for the equipment needs. The possibility to do that arose because records management is going to forego its original $75,000 request. They were going to purchase a high capacity scanner, but Lisa assured me that they did not need it at this time. So that freed up those resources, and Lands had already made this request last fall. It's also to support the drone that they did purchase. And so it would be used for that as well as other needs. The two trailers would have an estimated cost of the $62,100. So no increase needed to the current budget. Because it is not a previously approved request, that's why your approval is needed. And we're quickly approaching the July 1st deadline. So I hope there are no other requests of this type coming forward unless they are absolutely emergent.
Questions about the capital purchase?
I got a comment.
Good, Lynn.
was just kind of curious to know about the operation to the drone. As a matter of fact, Mark, we were just talking about the drone. Do we have somebody on staff that is certified to operate the drone now, and how have we been utilizing it?
We have everybody that is operational on it. They were informed they had to get a aerial applicator's license. They are taking the course. Brad McQuarrie was doing it. Then after he left the office, he didn't fulfill any of the licensing on it. We did find out there is a licensed drone operator right now for spraying application. He does work for the the Lake County Weed District. He would be willing to contract with us to be the pilot until the Mike and AJ get approved by this fall. So he'd be spraying underneath us under a contract. Yep.
Back to the capital purchase. Motion by Martin. Second by Bing to approve the capital purchase by land. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you, Ruth. Morning, Jasmine. Come on up.
I believe on page 4 of your packet. In brief, the Tribal Pesticide Program Council, or TPPC, we've been a part of this larger national group. It's a grassroots group that started in the 90s. It was just a bunch of folks that got together. They were concerned about pesticides impacting their land. It grew so big, and they would meet at the end of other conferences and do things like that. But it grew so big that EPA started funding them to have 2 meetings a year and pay for an administrator. And one of the meetings is in Indian Country, the other meeting's in Washington, D.C. with EPA staff. The grant is actually administered by ITAP, or every 5 years they get a new administrator, but currently it's with ITAP. And on April 22nd, when all the notices went out, all the termination notices, they received one. And the way EPA explained it was that basically anyone who was a research group or identified as a research group by AI received a termination notice because they're dissolving that whole research branch of EPA. So long story short, I got an email saying that right now it's on pause. EPA is trying to get it reinstated. They're pretty hopeful they can get it reinstated, but there's been nothing official, like no official letter has come through, or we don't know if it's just reinstated till the end of 25. We don't know if the whole thing's reinstated for the next few years or what the details are. So at this time, we're just submitting letters of support to EPA, in their review for reinstating it. We do have some other letters. Kootenai Tribe of Idaho provided a letter. Several of the tribes that participate in it provide letters, and really it fills a gap. Most tribes don't have pesticide programs. So our website tries to provide all that stuff for them if they want to start a program or if they just need some information. And we are chairman of this TPPC. So I felt like, it'd be appropriate if our council and Michael Dolson, our chair, would support a letter. A formal dispute wouldn't come from us. It would actually come from ITEP, and I don't know if they've done a formal dispute or if they're going to. And I don't know how council feels about that either. So as of right now, we're just asking for a letter of support. And any questions you guys might have.
Got Martin and then Lynn.
I would just ask legal's advice on it before we did anything, of course.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Do you have a letter drafted?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I sent you, I sent you the one with all the track changes on it. I did send it to Michael Wheeler. He hasn't gave me his review back. He said he doesn't want to work on the letter or the language unless council says, yeah, we'll do a letter of support. If you guys say no, then he's not going to spend time helping me with the language.
Is there any objection with going forward with a letter to support keeping this group happening? There's no objection to moving forward, so get Mike drafting the letter.
Okay, all right, awesome, thank you. And then do I just send it to you directly after he finishes it or to Jen?
Council.
To all of council? Okay. All right, thanks you guys.
Thank you, Jasmine. You're gonna regret me.
Yeah.
You're up. Come on up. Morning.
Good morning. So today we're here to get a modification on a period of performance on task order 132. The steel doors weren't delivered. This per the old fire control building. They're scheduled to be delivered on June 2nd, so we're looking to move the end date to July 31st. Everything stays the same other than that.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to modify task order, you say 132?
Yes.
Motion by Tom. Second by Jimmy. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Okay.
So get those doors.
Get those doors. The next one, this is task order 208. And it's got a couple items on it. First one is the artifacts room out at Kicking Horse on the backside of Property and Supply. This is for the artifacts that are over at SKC right now. I met with Nancy Fonicello, who she's helped us before on some of these artifact rooms and repositories. And she gave us a list of things to do. One's HVAC, some venting, some windows, doors, flooring. And so that is to get that room completed and built and fobs on the doors so we can get our artifacts from SKC to their own place for the preservation program. Another thing we have on there is the well out at Kicking Horse for food sovereignty. So they have their own well and it's not chlorinated. Two things. Just so they have their own well and it's without chlorine in it. The other thing is they go through an extra 1,000,000 gallons a month by using the water system at Kicking Horse. So we're paying quite a bit more for chlorine if they're using that well instead of their own well. And then the third item is excavation and site prep for the Longhouse classrooms down in Mission. This changed a little bit from when we first started. It was just going to be scraped off, leveled off, and put the classrooms on top. But then since then, Sadie has wanted some water and sewer, so it's gotten a little bit bigger than it started out to be. Both them sites, the well and the longhouse classrooms have been gone through the culture clearance process, so they're all ready to go. Just waiting on a permit for the well out at Food Sovereignty. And this, the classrooms are scheduled to be delivered June 18th. So those have been purchased apparently already. So task order 208, in looking for approval on that. And
John,
yes,
Go ahead, Martin.
they're already down there, right? The classrooms, or are they putting additional? There's two down there right now, right?
no, just one.
Or just the one?
That was
Another
that
one?
was the least one.
So they're putting another.
Now they're putting two on the west side. And that one's on the east side by their bullpen. Okay. So this task order 208 for the price of $178,367. Just looking for approval.
Tom,
This question about the well, is it possible to get a pump and pump out of the ditch there for that garden?
Probably.
Seems like that might be cheaper and less permitting.
It could be. I mean, I don't know. They want a little house eventually and everything, you know, with, so they can have their 3 or 4 frost frees along their garden there. And
Yeah. You could still do 3 turnouts with the irrigation system out of the irrigation system.
sure.
I just wonder, it just seemed like it might be cheaper or easier to do and not have to deal with the permit from the unitary water management people.
Yeah.
do
And
they
that's
have
what- and that's-
reason to have access to water year round?
For a garden? I don't think
Well,
so.
it's for food sovereignty.
Well, I
Or is
think
it
when you're in the
garden?
process of processing the food, you'd want that chlorinated water. Not to grow the plants, but to like wash your lettuce and stuff. Yeah.
The wells specifically to grow.
Yeah.
Just for irrigation, just for a garden.
Good question then.
Other than we'd probably have to excavate across a road, couple roads to run the piping underneath the ground.
Remember, right? You got that glorious culvert or cattle guard there that you don't need to excavate nothing. You just go right up the fence line. Yeah, and right through the cattle guard. I don't think you'd actually excavate anything other than the ditch. Make it put a pipe. If you put the pipe in the ground, it could be above ground. Yeah. I just run through the cattle guard.
Aqueduct.
I only bring it up because I thought maybe it might be cheaper. Yeah, that's it.
Sure. Would you like this to look into that? It was just never brought up. This is what discussions with Terry Ashley. He just seemed to want a well, and he seemed to know quite a bit about. He'd worked at forestry for years. I think he's pretty set on what he wanted. I don't know that that's exactly what he needed, but that's what he wanted.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Yep. Right now, times are very difficult. We all want lots of things, but we have to really look at what's most logical and most affordable to the tribe. We should always be doing that, but with where things are right now, we need to do so more than ever. We need to really tighten the belt on things and make sure we're not spending where it's not necessary. So we could really use your help and all of the departments' help when it comes to that. If there's something that looks like it's a want and it's not really a need, if we can kind of bring them in or look at some alternatives such as Tom suggested on it, that would be really helpful not only to us, but to all of the membership, because that savings, we need to make sure we can cover things so we can stay good.
Sure. So do we want to take the well off this for the moment? And just go with site prep for the longhouse in the artifacts room out at Kicking Horse?
Tom,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would appreciate, us doing our due diligence, whatever's cheaper. I think the other limiting factor would be, how that canal is charged. And it may be dry in the late season if you wanted to irrigate in September. I think it does dry up, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It's down to pretty much just rocks where you can.
It's pretty small then, so I think that might be the only limiting factor, but I don't know how much they're irrigating in September anyway, but,
Okay, we can discuss all that with him. Sure. Is, and then would we have to get permission probably from, irrigation too? Would that be correct?
not sure if you're paying O&M or not. If you're paying O&M, I don't think it's gonna be an issue. We paying O&M on those lands right there?
if they're part of the system, they would be.
It's got ditches running through it and a big reservoir right in the middle of it.
That might not be registered on for water delivery though.
I don't know.
Oh. Could we go ahead with the task order as it is with a condition that they pursue evaluating getting irrigation water? Which would then, if there's some obstacle for doing that, the well would already be authorized. That make sense?
Sure.
Given that change, motion by Martin. Second by Tom. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You guys gonna go on break and I'll go grab Jordan. What time?
Quarter after. Good afternoon, Rocky. And everybody. You brought your entourage. Yeah. Let's do it. Tell us about water and sewer. Martin stepped out. He should be right back. But I think we can go ahead and start.
Okay, there we go. Well, good afternoon. So this is a continuation of our meeting up at the Housing Authority. The section that we didn't get to was the Water Sewer Department. I'm, for those that don't know, I think everyone knows me, Rocky Davis, the Water Sewer Manager. I have a staff of, I think I'm down to 10 now, but let's see. We have two divisions within our department. We have the operations, which is all of our community water systems and sewer systems. And then we have the construction side. We have 7 certified water operators, 5 that are certified in wastewater, 1 that is a certified septic installer, and that's a requirement if we're doing like in the Missoula County. And so John went ahead and got certified for Lake County also. He attempted to get certification in Sanders County, but kind of got the runaround with it. And so he hasn't got that certification yet. And then we have four staff that are have CDLs to drive the big dump truck or operate heavy equipment. In your slideshow, I show you who are our operators and some of what they do, you know, from electrical work to working in treatment plant where there's sludge, to crawling on top of the Arley water tank, inspecting our valves and overflow to make sure we have screens so that bugs don't get into them. And then also making repairs on well casings. And then we have the construction crew who connect all of our wells that we drill from the well to the house. And then they put in our septic systems that for individual tribal members. There's a picture of a squirt test, and that's to make sure that the laterals are working correctly on the septic systems. And then they also do all of our big community projects, community system projects. Okay, next. We are a public utility, and that is because we provide a service that is considered essential to provide the basic necessity for individuals. We have to ensure that the service is at the highest quality and responsible to the needs of our customers. We're different from a public service, which is more like the fire department or ambulance, because those intend to address specific needs pertaining to members of the community. Historically, the water sewer department has been with the housing authority since the early 1980s. And at that time, we had maybe 4 or 5 staff, and we only had 14 public water systems. And some of those systems probably were only about half the size that they are now. And at that time, we were still installing well and septic systems for tribal members. But currently, in 2025, we have 22 public water systems, and these are systems that are registered with EPA and have a minimum of 25 households connected to those systems. And those people are using this water over a 60-day period of time within a year. We have 9 small systems such as like Sundown, Timberlane, you know, a few other real small systems where there's maybe only 6 or 8. Dayton's another small one. Oh wait, no, Dayton's a registered system, sorry, Dog Lake. We have now 3 staff individuals, 4 certified operators. We have an engineer and a construction inspector, and we're down to 2 construction crew members. And with that, we're still installing 15 to 20 individual well and septic systems annually and completing community upgrades. The distance, I mean, it's not hard for our crew to put in 200 miles a day. If you look at going from, you know, one end of the reservation to the other or out to Dog Lake, I think Bud one day put in about 300 miles because he not only was driving to the systems here, he also had to go to Kalispell, come back, run to Missoula, and then come back. So I did a short on how far we actually travel. And, you know, we get a lot of windshield time. Next. Our customers, we have over 900 water and sewer customers. Over 800 of those are residential. 61 of them are commercial. 7 are irrigated space, such as the community gardens, ball fields, and the cemeteries. 400, so about half of our customers are have both water and sewer services. 413 only have water, and a very small portion are sewer systems only. But of all of those customers, we have 260 that are enrolled tribal elders. Our fees from 2006 to 2024, we've only had 5 rate increases. The residential rates have went from $19.50 per month to $35, and that's our current rate. And this is just residential. The commercial rates are a little bit higher, and I'll touch on those in a bit. The connection fee for our water and sewer systems in 2006 was $1,000 for water and $500 for sewer. We're now at $2,800 for water and $1,500 for sewer. And in looking at evaluating that cost, that's actually going to need to increase before too long because of the prices we're seeing coming in for some of the parts we need. Some of the other fees we charge is a late fee. If someone makes their payment on the 14th of the month, they're past the 10th, and so we charge them a $10 late fee. It has helped bring our customer response to paying their bills on time to the good. Even though we still have several that no matter how much we charge them, you know, they're getting that $10 late fee every month. But we work with them. We try to get them on so that the payments come directly out of their paycheck, out of their bank accounts. You know, and if they need a later due date because they don't get their Social Security till the 3rd week of the month, we'll work with them. And so the ones that don't contact us and ask for options, they're unfortunately charged the $10 late fee. And then we have a transfer fee, and these are if somebody is in a current connection and that connection is on and it's sold to a new owner, we charge them a $25 fee. But if the water is off, then it's a $50 turn-on fee or account activation fee. And commercial rates are twice what our residential late transfer and connection fees are.
In regards to your monthly fees, so you have a flat rate of $25. Does it also include the volume of water you use too? I mean, do you guys have water meters?
We have water meters, but I would say probably 90% of the meters are not working because the batteries have died. And we need to replace all of the meters when they were installed.
So right now it's just a $20,
It's just
$25.
it's just a base flat fee of $35. I had to check and see what I had there. And so residential rate, fixed rate is, and a fixed rate is very common across the country, but a lot of people are starting to go to a base with a volume charge. So you can see since 2020, we have not done any rate increases, even though during the pandemic, all of our costs have been rising. If we had been doing a 5% annual rate increase since 2006, our rates right now would have been $47 a month. Or if we would have been utilizing the meter system we've tried to use it and we're not getting accurate readings. And so now we just use it on ones that will work to see if there's a leak.
Just based on the $35 a month fee that you currently charge, do you come up short every year
Yes.
in your budget for maintenance costs?
Yes. And I do have that coming up. And so with no rate increases over several years, it has led to a shortage in the annual budget, created an inability to hire sufficient staff. I mean, we actually probably need at least 2 more operators. An inability to pay staff accordingly. We just did had someone come in and help us go through our pay rates. And there were some of the lower, and then it also gives us the inability to build a reserve. We have checked with the local rates. So Polson, if an average water user in Polson use 3,000 gallons per month for a family of 4, their average water and sewer bill would be $128.93 per month. And so I do show on here all of our surrounding communities, what their rates are. And as you can see, most of them are a base rate with a volume added to it. Some of our other revenue is we enter into memorandums of agreement. And these are for tribally owned water systems such as SNK Electronics, the Bison Range. And so we charge a monthly fee based on what they need. So if they are required monthly testing, chlorine monitoring, and then if there's repairs needed, we bill that out accordingly. And those systems have come to us for assistance because they don't have a certified water operator. And you have to have a certified operator to do monthly water tests. Some of the other thing, I mean,
Rocky,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rocky, but there was no MOA developed with Blue Bay then?
Since Blue Bay is our water system, they're treated as a customer.
So in relative, I just noticed in some of this dialogue that some commercial enterprises have been undercharged, but the residential customers really haven't been. They need to be in inflation.
Yeah.
So is there going to be changes to the MOAs then?
The MOAs, we just updated those. They're updated on an annual basis. Based on costs, and if something changes, we've had 2 systems that have now went to full-time chlorination. And so we had to change their MOAs to include additional visits to their sites.
Yeah, I noticed in your demographics you had for your customers that nearly half of your residential customers are seniors, 62 and older.
Yes.
In your survey, do you have their average income? Do you know what your income is of your customers?
We have never asked the income of our customers. I would say probably in just knowing who our customers are, I would say a majority of them, maybe 60% of them are on fixed incomes. And then most of our clients is the housing authority. We have 250 units, I believe, that are on our water system. And the housing authority pays that monthly charge also. Blue Bay, they are at 35 per service. And so they have some services that are just water and some that are water and sewer. And yeah. And then there's a couple that are seasonal. So they're charged according to where they are within Blue Bay. And then there's months when we don't charge them at all because they're shut down. Then there's months where we only charge a certain portion of them because that's the only portion that's open in March to April and October and November during the fishing derbies. And so the rest of the time, it's, you know, we have it sectioned off where we can shut down different sections of it.
With doing so much paperwork to have them on and off and all of these different billing cycle changes, is there any type of administration fee in that, an administrative fee?
We haven't charged a separate administration fee. It's kind of all calculated in how we come up with the monthly rate.
You might be missing with some of your corporate ones and some of those other one-offs, but you might be able to gain some revenue.
Yeah.
There with the administrative fees.
And so then we have commercial accounts, and those are like our schools. You know, Dixon, Nakusum, the early childhood, the powwow ground. In Elmo, Arlee is a separate. They're on their own. Foster funeral home, tribal health. Those are some of our commercial accounts. And we're not looking at a rate increase right now for the commercial accounts. I've been attending Rebecca and I've been attending some webinars on how to better gauge the commercial ones. Because they are a different, as well as is the irrigated space. They're totally different than how we would want to charge a residential account. We don't have very many irrigated spaces. Those are like we have 2 stock tanks, we have the baseball fields and cemetery. So there's just a few there that we have. Our user fees, our revenue. So we have both non-grant and grant revenue that comes into the water sewer department. Between 2006 and 2014, we generated between 289,000 to 297,000. But from 2015 to current, we've had a steady increase to where we're just under $594,000 just in rental income. Since 2006, I looked, we've only had 4 years where we did not need to get subsidy from the housing authority. We've been as low as $16,000 and as high as $634,000. In the last 5 years, I believe it is, the subsidy has been increasing, and that's because of shortfalls we've been having on IHS projects. And then we have a pretty steady income, you know, between the connection fees and all of those other fees that we charge. Our grant funding, for like most of our salaries, it does come from IHS, OEH funding. This year we've seen an increase in that, but we had been on a downhill spiral on those and then kind of steady, but we did get an increase, which did help us on our wage and testing side. We've received other grants for community system improvements. One big one that we just finished is the Peachey Booster Station, because we was having issues with the water pressure there. So we got that finished. And we've also put in supplemental wells. Right now we're putting in security fencing. And once we're done with all the fencing, we're going to look at upgrading to possibly adding security cameras on our water systems. And then we get our dispersed sites funding. And that helps individual tribal members get well and septic systems. We usually do 15 to 20 a year. This year we did 4 and we're out of funding. And we have not heard of any more IHS dispersed sites funding coming.
So Rocky, I've been designated as a committee member for the Budget Formulation Committee, or the IHS Budget Formulation Committee. And one thing that I failed to do is to work directly with you to find out what the number is that we're seeking. Like when I go there,
Okay.
to make sure that our region is getting adequate funding, because I didn't know how many wells that we did every year
Yeah.
and how much it pays for salaries or anything like that. I didn't know none of that.
Yeah.
But now that I know, in our next meeting, I'll reach out to you and
Okay.
make sure that I have that right number, so I know what I'm talking about when we're talking about our region, because
Yeah.
that was kind of one of the many things that I learned that I was not doing. So
Yeah, we've been contacting EPA, or not EPA, IHS biweekly, and we keep getting told, we don't know, we don't know. But then I just heard that IHS may be moving to Spearfish, South Dakota, so that may be why we're not hearing, but we usually have our next year dispersed sites funds in October of the year prior, and we have not heard anything on it.
okay, I'll start CCing you on the emails.
Okay,
that
thank
I
you.
get on that, so.
Thank you. The other source, and I kind of did some checking on, was the water compact money. As you all know, that there is some funds set aside, but until the enforceability date is determined and we're all the way through water court, we can't even bank on that monies. But that was a question that a board member had asked about, and so I included it in this presentation. Some upcoming projects that we have, there's a big push through EPA right now dealing with emergent contaminants, and that's the PFAS and the PFOs. Basically the plastic that and EPA, their first year of testing, we are getting into that round where they will come out and do all of our initial testing for us, get our initial maximum contaminant levels identified. And then after that, if we are above the recommended levels, then we will have to do some replacements. Where we're at right now in a mandate is the lead service line mandate. We have identified over 400 service lines that are unknown material. They may be PVC, but they also could be lead or galvanized lines that go from our water mains to the houses. And unfortunately, with this mandate, the initial one that came out, there was no funding for it. Well, now there is a little bit of funding, and so I'm trying to get in on that so that it will cover some of our replacement costs. Of the 400 lines, I just got back all of the housing authorities service lines, so we're only down to about half of that number now. So we're eliminating service lines as we go, and hoping that we don't have any that we have to replace. The only communities that I'm worried about is Elmo, Dixon, and St. Ignatius, because those are our three oldest communities. And so far, we're good on the ones that we've checked into. Another project that we're working on is we're not going with the GIS system like what the tribe's natural resource has. We're going with this diamond mapping, which is similar to GIS. They work together. And Montana Rural Water was out last week and mapped 5 of our systems for us. And what they do is identify where all of our water and sewer lines are, where our valves, our meters, curb stops, fire hydrants, and all of that is so that the guys, when they go out, they don't have to take a book that has, pages of where everyone's connections are. They'll have it accessible on their phone. And then the other thing is I would like to really get to a metered system versus a fixed system. One, it not only, it's a more accurate tracking of our water usage, But it also encourages water conservation of our peoples. It leads to early detection, and it also will tell us if there's theft of services. And unfortunately, we do have one of those pop up at least once a year. Somebody who we've shut off cuts the lock and starts using the water. In some instances, the rates may be higher, but it's higher because they use more water. And then, some instances it might be lower because they're actually conserving. But to replace all the meters in all of our systems, it would require a significant capital expenditure. And it would take probably up to 2 years to do this changeover. And I did see where Crow Agency, sorry, I had an emergency. I was checking to make sure it wasn't that. Crow Agency just recently in 2023 got funding for a meter system. So that might be something we can look at through IHS. Okay, our expenses, and hopefully this will answer some of your questions, Lynn. OEH we use for, the amount is determined by the tribe. Ruth gives us a statement every year of how much we'll receive for the budget year of October through September. Prior to that, we've been able to charge expenses such as testing somebody's private well, travel, vehicle expenses. But when we started seeing a reduction in our OEH funds, we limited it to just payroll. Now we're able to add those funds or those expenses back into OEH, which freed up some of our non-restricted. Prior to 2025, all non-restricted expenses for our department was coded to one program. We have now split it into 2 programs, and so that we can make sure that our construction crew is, we're charging enough for the construction crew to cover their expenses. And we was seeing that we was not. Our largest expenses are payroll and then our water tests. I'm going through these slides, just hitting the highlights of them, because I don't think I need to read every word to you guys. Why a rate increase? We hear it all the time from the tribal members. Why am I, a tribal member, paying for my water? They're not paying for the water. Paying for the distribution lines, the pumps, the electricity, everything that takes to deliver the water from the well to that faucet. And, we are a public utility and we're responsible to deliver safe drinking water and make sure that everyone has a functioning septic system. Unfortunately, under the Safe Drinking Water Act that we have to follow by EPA, we're required to make repairs to the systems, even if we have a lack of funding. So to answer the question, why a rate increase, we need to have sufficient revenue to meet our expenditures, to hire additional staff, to build a replacement reserve, to rely less on SCAHA for our shortfall. With the rising costs to make necessary repairs, we have to have an annual rate adjustment. All revenue we receive from user fees goes back into the department to cover expenditures in all of our systems. The Housing Authority staff take pride in our jobs. We put our customers first to ensure that our customers have delivery of safe drinking water and operational sewer systems. I've had staff that, they'll give up their weekend to go and answer a call. We're all, even though we have designated operators on call each week. We're all on call 24/7.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rocky, when you talk about a replacement reserve, have you had a reserve in the past?
No, we've
So-
never had sufficient enough.
What would be an adequate reserve in your opinion? What's the amount? What's your target?
A pump alone for water system, or was it sewer system? We just paid $13,000. So a minimum to me of 20,000 reserve would give us, a cushion. And if, something major went down, we would have the funds there to, get it, replaced.
Do you have say it's a new pump you put in and there's a lifespan of that pump? Do you have a calendar or, amortized type replacement calendar for things that are going to go out?
We haven't done one in the past. That's some of the stuff that, we're looking at making changes to, Rebecca took a asset management course last fall. And, if, this company that we work with out of Arizona, the Intertribal Council of Arizona, they provide services for, tribal water systems, across the country. And that's one of the things that they were going to come out and help us do is, an asset management. They did do a preventative maintenance. And I'm going through that right now to see what changes we're going to be making. In this first year, it's been, a learning experience, but now I know where I need to, pick up and start changing things. What's that? Valley Creek. Valley Creek, that system went down and, I can't remember how much money we dumped into that one. Was that this spring or winter? Because we had that one go down and we also had Dixon Agency go down. Granted, Dixon Agency wasn't as bad as, Valley Creek, but, when you have two systems go down and you're hit with, $15,000 to $20,000 right off the bat, it's your whole budget year is gone. And I just got told, our, irrigation system in Elmo, we have to bring an electrician in tomorrow. And so it's, we fix one thing here and we put a Band-Aid over here and, I'd like to get away from having to keep putting Band-Aids on things. So the rate increase for the residential that I'm asking for is a 15% for the remainder of 2025 and a 10% increase for the subsequent years. So this one says June, but it would be July 1st. The rates would residential rates would go to $40 each. And then January 26 and would go to 44 and 27 would go to 48. Our goals is to continue evaluating all of our fees that we charge. Seek what funding we can, especially for the lead service line replacement. And seek any other outside funding that we can get. And keep working with IHS as we get, as we can contact them. One of the things that we've been seeing on the webinars that we've been sitting in on is other tribal councils have created a program similar to LEWAP or LEAP. It's the Water Assistance Program, where for their elderly or fixed income, they do pay a portion of it. Some tribes, if you're over a certain age, the elders, they cover them. That's just a suggestion. But a lot of our customers do utilize dire need to bring their accounts current. The BOC has reviewed the proposal and rate study that we had conducted, and the board understands the budget shortfall. and seeks alternative solutions to a rate increase from the council. If no alternative solution exists, we request the BOC and council's approval to proceed with the proposed rate increases. So we're requesting a blessing to proceed with the recommended rate increase of 15% as of July 25th through December 2025, and 10% the following 2 years. And then as we finalize the formula for the commercial and irrigated space, we're going to be analyzing those based on business and the size of the meter and the usage. We'll get that matrix created and come back for approval. We're going to continue analyzing our MOAs, evaluating our other fees. And we just recently updated our billable charges to like we're helping, if a tribal member comes to us to provide a service and they can pay it themselves, what those costs are, or if a tribal department, we've updated all of our billable costs. An investment in our drinking water infrastructure is an investment in our future. Lem Lunch, any questions?
Oh, I think, Mr. Chair, would we have to concur with all of it? I mean, do we have to do could we do 1 year at a time? I'm just trying to figure out, because I looked at what congressional budget is, and I'm looking at more people that aren't going to get food stamps.
Right.
And of course, the, LEAP it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's like the cumulative effects out there for the 60% of your client base is going to be dramatic, and they're going to be starting to pick and choose what bill they're going to pay.
Right.
So I really started thinking about Mission Valley Power and their proposed rate increases, and is there ways to just stall or defer or no? I mean, you need it. You need this money.
Right.
No doubt about that. As does MVP and other programs out there. But it's just, what is there a way to delay, not knowing what Senate's going to do, what's going to end up with the final bills that we have out there, the change. I mean, and these guys are also going to get a 7% increase in their federal taxes.
Right.
And the people making lots of money are getting a 15% decrease in their federal taxes. Right. So it's like, if you're low income, boy, things are looking really tough.
Yeah.
All the way around. So it's a difficult situation. I'm just certainly don't have any problems with justifying it. It's just, I don't know how you squeeze more money out of a low income person when everything's going up on it.
I completely understand that. I saw my power bill take a big hit. And so, I mean, we hear it, constantly. We know, Rebecca, how many would you say is low income probably in knowing our customers?
Don't ever make with us. So it really does depend, 35%. So, because a majority of them are already taken care of in our low rent units by housing. And when you have your elders in our elderly units, so. But a majority of the people, they do communicate pretty well with us, and we work with them. Every time they call, try to make arrangements the best we can.
So, yeah, if we can only get blessing for a year, we understand, and we'd come back.
So the shortfall is paid by housing revenue, rental revenue. Every year we cover them however much they're short. Last year was $315,000 or so. The year before was $634,000. And so that is preventing us from doing what we are supposed to be doing with our housing revenue, right? And so that's why I've tasked Rocky to figure out how to get her budget balanced under control. In the past, they get IHS grants to do projects and they generate IDC, which offsets our finance and admin costs. So it was like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. But it's been out of balance for the last couple of years. And that's why I've been pushing her to do something different. Fixing our billable rates was huge. There was some equipment that we weren't even charging for because there wasn't a code for it in the computer. So we created the codes, we're cleaning it up, right? But the bottom line is that they don't have enough revenue to offset the expenses because inflation for all of the supplies they use on a daily basis, even chlorine has doubled. Everything is more expensive now than it was. And we haven't done increases and we have deferred maintenance. It's just they're band-aided together and we have to do something to get ahead of this curve because all we're doing is doing emergencies. And it is stressful and it shouldn't be this hard, right? We're making it harder on ourselves because we aren't charging adequate money. And then they're running around trying to use parts that weren't made for that. And it's making our jobs a lot harder than they should be. It's already hard enough, right? Making magic happen, but it's almost impossible to do without having adequate funds.
Glenn, you were going to say something?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is one of the toughest jobs within housing, trying to make sure everybody has water every day. That's a huge responsibility, so I really admire the work that you're doing over there. I just wanted to just mention that I believe there's funding available through the Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders Organization, and I just overheard this recently that they were providing to some tribes to help people pay for their water bills. And I think it was only like a $12,000 grant that they were providing to tribes, but $12,000 is a lot of money for people, especially in the summertime, right? People really need the water. And I'll connect you, Rocky, with that staff person.
Okay.
And then on my second note, I just want to commend your staff, the field staff. Last year we had a funeral going on in Elmo, and we had major sewage problems that happened, and the staff responded very, very quickly. I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Not only that, they came twice. They had to come twice, right? And not only they had a really good attitude, and I was really impressed with them. And I know they worked out at my residence, and very professional staff. And so make sure you let them know that they are noted. They are noticed.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danielle, go ahead.
Just real quick, there's lots of numbers up here. What's their current rate and what's the rate gonna go up to?
The current rate is 35, so it would go up $5 to 40
For water.
for water so it'd be 40 for water, 40 for sewer. So those that have both would go up to 80.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank Vice Chair McDonald for his questions, about why do we need the rate increase and about the lowest income people that we serve and whatever. And, that concerned the board a lot because we pushed for why do we need the rate increase? I know we need a sustainable housing authority, but when we found that it was taken away from the repairs that were necessary to the houses also, we were taking that money and pushing it towards the water. And we thought, well, how is that helping us, to take and provide safe and affordable housing for our tenants? And it's hard to take and try to raise water rates and whatever to the people that are most needy. And we service a lot of zero rents on the housing authority, and those that are able to pay are supplementing those zero rents and for their units. And so how do you take and say you can't have a zero rent house when you don't have any income? And you can't, you know, and it's by federal regulations that you can't charge somebody 30% if they don't have any income. So it was pushing us, you know, to take and say, how can we justify the rate increase? And I think Rocky and her staff and Sid and all of them have been working very diligently to take and help us understand what we have to do and what a lot of times pushing, bending our arms behind our back and say, you have to do this or else we can't provide the housing authority that we should provide. And, you know, the winterization has gone by, LEAP has gone by, the supplemental energy's gone by, you know. We're being faced by an administration that doesn't care about the Native American people or low income people. You know, you can even look at the governor, you know, and he's not willing to take and support the low income people. And it's like Tom said, it's the rich are getting the tax breaks and the lower people are paying for them tax breaks. So thank you very much.
What else, Rocky?
You know, it's very, you know, it is very needed, you know. I am in my budgets daily, trying to make sure that we're meeting, you know, our needs and that we have sufficient funds to cover whatever expenses, you know, we're faced with that day. I have implemented changes and the guys know that they can't do something without asking, permission to get parts or, and they have to justify why they need it. So changes have been made. So far, our budget this year is looking better than it did the first quarter of last year. But we still have a long way to go. We're not even halfway into the year, and we've been hit with systems down, or breaks, or even our equipment going down. And so, you know, I know we have several low income, several fixed income, several elderly. I don't know what the answer is for them. But I have explained what other tribes have done. And so I just hope that we can get, you know, a little bit of reprieve and then we'll, you know, if it's only a year, I'll come back next year and ask for it again. And maybe we'll be in a better situation as far as our overall economy. I can pray. Nuts.
Other questions for Rocky? Full support the rate increase? Are there any objections to the rate increase, Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I not knowing how everything is going to shake out with so many different, even overall housing funding, I just don't know. I would recommend that we would limit it to 1 year at a time at this point in time. I mean, that's just me. I ultra conservative and you need the money. You absolutely need the money. There's no doubt about that. And drinking water is one of the core elements of providing for our people. So,
Right.
And so I just would err on caution and not do a 3-year thing. I just do 1 year at a time, and let's see what happens. Let's see what's shaking out with the federal budget and how the state of Montana responds to Medicaid even. I mean, that's a whole nother thing, is Medicaid's getting cut for a lot of your customers
Exactly.
and yeah, I don't.
Okay.
That'd be my recommendation. I support the 40 without about it. Even though it's more than what I pay, on average.
Are you on base or you're base and volume, aren't you? You're on base and volume, right?
There's a meter for water in the summertime, but it doesn't work.
Oh.
I don't think a lot of them haven't worked in Ronan for a long time.
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain. So but my total bill is under 80 for sure. I don't know what it is. 70. Wow.
One year increase to 40. Got a motion and a second?
Hey, you know what? I always said that I would take the hard hits, so I make the motion for 1 year. Well, permanently it would go up to 40. And but not do anything beyond that until we assess the state and federal funding.
Okay.
Would be as of July 1st, it would go up to $40 a month. You never go backwards, right?
There's a motion by Tom, second by Martin, to increase rates to the 40 for just a 1 year rate increase. All in favor? Unanimous.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now you know how the board felt.
It is hard.
I don't want to get reelected, so that's fine.
It is hard, and thank you guys for making those hard choices. I am always on the fence of looking at the individual and then looking at the collective. And it is hard to find that balance, but thank you guys for supporting it. And for Rocky, she has spent literally maybe almost a whole year doing the rate study and putting this all together so that everyone could see the truths of the situation. So good job. Thank you.
She's still in deficit spending.
Yes, but she's watching it every week, right? She's not letting it go by and she's questioning everything. And that's what we need to do. Because if you spend less, you don't need to make as much.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, there are two outstanding housing items that I haven't received a response from. And one of them was the CARES trailers. We had sent you guys additional information via email and haven't heard back. Those were the home ownership rent to own trailers. And I was asking for a gift deed, and they are very small amounts that we can do in-house mortgages for so that we can close out that program. And it's 6 manufactured homes, 1 at Kicking Horse, 5 at Maggie Ashley Trailer Park. I need the authorization from council to receive those so that Delphine can sign the titles over to us and we can give in-house mortgages to the residents.
We need a resolution.
We did present it. That's the one that Pete had drafted a couple years ago.
Glenn's making the motion to gift deed, how many trailers?
6.
6 trailers to housing. Second by Tom. All in favor? approving the resolution that well, it'll get updated. The other issue?
The other one was the Finley Creek. So I have $2 million that I need to do infrastructure and so it was going to be revisited that we would, can put in the infrastructure. We don't need to build the houses yet, but we need to spend this money or I have to send it back to HUD. And there was concern about the school-age children crossing. And so there would be ample time to put in a flashing light or whatever is necessary to have safety before we build on those homes or on those home sites. But it was rezoning, right? So right now it is agricultural use. And so Mark had brought it to council to have it converted to residential. But other than if you guys have a different location that you would like me to do, I would love to, but I have a closing window of time to spend these funds. You have land in Elmo?
Well, if you're converting from agricultural to home site, we have to do an EA. Is that part of the
Yes,
process?
I have to do an environmental assessment, right? And that's going to take probably 4 months. Then I have to do an RFP to design, have an engineer design the system, and then a construction RFP to actually put in the infrastructure. And my window is closing. It's a 2-year grant, and we're already 6 months into it. So I'm feeling the pressure.
Martin?
Harley is one of the most sought after places on the reservation. They've been, the wait list is probably what, 2-3 years at least?
5
Eh,
for a 2-bed.
give or take. No, I mean, I did the intake there, so I kind of know the areas that are really high demand, and that is one of them. And if we have an opportunity to build there, let's do it. I mean, let's figure out safety, but if it's just the infrastructure, I don't see why not. And I mean, we can work with the highway department to lower the speed limit, which it already needs to be done for safety in Arley. And I can't believe that it wasn't passed a couple of weeks ago. I got yelled at by one of your staff.
Sorry about that. We're passionate.
All caps.
Tom?
Yeah, there's no doubt that housing is needed there. It was, I think it was me that was talking about as a land use planner, why would we put something on the wrong side of the highway? That was my opinion. When all the, services tend to be at least in the center of or the north side of the highway.
Do you have different location in mind?
Well, I wasn't sure about all the land, by the powwow grounds or over by the fish hatchery, or I just wasn't sure what was available. I didn't know we really done our due diligence on it all. I don't know.
You buy that 80 acres that's across from community center is what we need to do. You guys got money for that?
How much is it? Probably.
It's not for sale. They were trying to develop it
Not for sale.
into, what was it, 80 units? Something like that.
That private development. Yeah, that's where we did our groundwater study.
Well, and I would anticipate this would be phase 1 because if you look at the map, our home sites has about 30 homes on the east side. On the west side, it's almost the same size. And so it seems like we would mirror it, but I only have enough for 15. And when it comes down to it, we might be able to put in a little bit more. We'll spend all we have. But the grant application was for 15. And so we were thinking if we do 15 for phase 1, and then we could have 15 for phase 2, and then those would be available. And a mixed use, like not mixed use, but mixed income would be, so we would have home ownership and rentals there is the overall goal.
So the property where the old baseball field is, that's tribal land?
Those I was told was allotment because when we were looking for properties for the duplexes, we went on a drive with lands And we had looked at that, and when we got back to the office, they said, no, that's allotted land. That's not tribal lands control. And so we couldn't put our home sites there, so we ended up putting them down by the fire hall.
Hey, Jimmy.
You know, Jody, I've been going through there looking at that, seeing about an easy way to access that, the first going south. Because going north, I mean, going south, if you cross that fairly easy, then you could sidewalk down to the store. And then it's access to the school through that way, but, at the one crossing is the issue, getting across that southbound lane. You know, with safely. It's nighttime, yeah, you know, even daytime, it's crazy down there. Cars they just drive too fast. I mean, it's like the kids that got hit coming across to the store on
In
the
town.
school side. I mean, the other side is worse yet. But I don't know how you'd, just signs to slow it down is all we have. I mean, you'd have to build an overhead crosswalk to be safe. And I don't know, you know, it's, the only concern I have is there's really a lot of high-speed traffic down there. And if it was safe, not any way to make it safe would be okay. Because it would, like Martin said, we can use the homes down there. I just don't know where else we could put them.
And then the alternative was just to do individual home site development if people already have the land, but they don't have infrastructure. But then it would be times 15 every single step of the way, 15 EAs, 15 engineers, 15 contracts. And I don't think we could physically do all of that work within the window we have. But we could maybe get an extension, but it's easier to put them in one site and do it all in one batch. But I'm just getting afraid that we're running out of time.
You need to do an EA for a privately held piece?
Yeah. Before I use federal dollars on anything.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought, you know, the property where the rodeo grounds are, just behind it going towards the river and going north from where the powwow grounds are, that tribal land might be suitable. No, that's 100% tribally owned, but you know, to put 15 homes in, it's not being used for anything right now. Is that right, Ben?
Is that where you access by the gravel pit? Down through there?
No.
Frenchie, what was his name?
No, this would be just straight west, I guess, northwest of where everybody camps at the powwow grounds.
Should I come back with tribal lands next week, maybe? And we hash it out?
You know, in nature.
Hey, Jimmy.
Years ago, when we were building Ravels, first time I was on council, there's an 80-acre right by that orange cars. That's where they wanted us to put Ravels. And I don't know if that's still travel or, I mean, I'm sure it is, but it's 80 acres there. It's right next to orange cars, right below Nelson's.
Mr. Chairman, the area that you're talking about, Jim, that's not connected to any water system. It's just south of Shalai. We would have to, I mean, if you wanted it connected to a community system, we'd have to extend Shalai down. And so we'd have to find grant funds to extend that, 5 miles?
With that would be expensive.
Or
to create a new system.
Or create a new system. And, you know, we're finding problems with the Arley wells, you know, because that's where everyone's wanting to move and build homes. And so the aquifer is getting punched, you know, in several places. And so that'd be a conversation we'd want to include Seth in to see if that area would be adequate to drill a well. Because I'd hate to see us drill one and then we get the infrastructure put in, start putting homes, and then we have no water.
And Mark had also mentioned the property down where you go through Joscom Lane past the apartments. And he said there's a little tract of land back there that we could just extend, like expand the Salish addition in St. Ignatius. So there's a couple options, but I need to, they all require council approval to convert the land use. So we've got to hash it out sometime, and I feel like Mark probably should be part of that conversation because he has more information than I do.
Schedule it somewhere in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
Play baseball down there anyway. They're playing on that allotment.
What
Okay.
else?
We'll come back. Those were the two I had.
Well, thank you for the report, Rocky. Good report.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Can we go into executive? Can we go into executive?
Anything else? Lamb, lamb, Shay, hoy.